Hey, what's up? I'm F from Acapella.
It's your boy Cutter.
Your girl, Danelle Ray.
OG2 in the building. And of course, the infamous K Fred.
And together we form Voltron.
Play my motherfucking theme music.
Concrete reality.
Today's gunline topic: if modern day dating is just glorified prostitution. So we're gonna get it cracking. It's gonna be a hot one. As usual, we're gonna ask each panelist where they stand on the topic. Okay, Fred.
You want to pick me first, huh?
You know it. So with a simple yes or no, is modern day dating just glorified prostitution?
Yes.
Danelle, yes or no?
Yes.
Gillum, yes or no?
It's complicated.
Cool Cutter, where you stand on this?
I already know, man. It's a damn yes for me.
Damn yes for you. Well, I kind of stand with
He know it's very expensive to date me. Told him go put my name on that account because when I need money, I ain't trying to wait. I can't be with no, you can't touch this. Hey, wish I do rich, my money thick, hey.
I just played that because I already
that
know.
cash shit.
Man, hold up. Let's get it cracking. So believe it or not, just to get us a foundation to draw conclusions from, for a long time before the 1900s, free sex, aka sex outside of wedlock, was illegal in many societies. Marriages were a family affair. So who you would enter into wedlock with was typically determined by your parents, not yourself. It wasn't based off of no love, no rings and affection. If you got caught punching outside of marriage, which I think happens if you get caught outside of marriage, punching. You get arrested, humiliated, hurt badly, exiled, or possibly killed. And if the woman got pregnant and she said you were the baby daddy,
you know who the daddy of that chocolated baby is? I'm Peppy.
It could at least be a forced marriage, aka shotgun marriage, or all the above could take place. Basically, according to tradition and definition, sex outside of marriage was considered adultery.
Adulterer, fornicator.
No in between. So the foundation of this, it wasn't no in between dating and all that. It was either or. Either you was married and hunching, or you was an adulterer. Fornication, or you was the R word, which we can't use, which is forced intercourse. So it wasn't until our modern era that sex outside of marriage became more acceptable. And that's where we're at now. So I guess we can start with a little simple definition for what this thing is. So marriage, if you look in the legal dictionary, the legal status, condition, or relationship that results from a contract by which one man and one woman who have the capacity to enter into such an agreement mutually promise to live together in the relationship.
Except in Utah.
Except you can have more than one out there in Montana. Adultery is voluntary violation of the marriage bed. You hunching without that contract, then it's illegal.
Modern day dating versus back in the days, and the purpose of dating has changed because in today's society, dating has become more transactional. In times of old, the purpose of dating was to find a lifelong partner in which you can love and build a family with. Now, I'm not saying that people weren't getting into arranged marriages and things like that, but their families were not trying to mate them with just anybody. They were trying to mate them with families that they thought to be good families, etc. So it was still a protection that they felt like they were keeping over the women that they were, giving to other families. It was, even though it was arranged, it was the way the families felt like they were keeping the women protected.
Mr. Neff, can I ask you a question? So back in the day, they traded cows and sheep for pussy. That's how it went. So they were still trading money for pussy. That's what was going on. And to increase the family wealth.
Well, see, the thing is, I definitely agree with you because I feel like dating always has some type of transactional counterpart to it. I agree with that. But the difference is, if you look at the definition for prostitution definition is sexual acts in exchange for monetary things or money. So it's not as broad as somebody saying, I have an arranged marriage. My family's going to bless your family's going to bless my family. We're going to marry into each other's family. It's more like an arranged agreement between families. Like, for instance, I want to keep my blood pure.
That means you marry your cousin then. That's what they did back in the day.
Well, I'm saying it could be different nations agreeing to marry off to each other. Nevertheless, in regards to how it differs, I mean, in times of old, it wasn't about convenience of sex without consequences, or a woman thinking that they were going to be able to get a free meal, or the other person being able to give them or secure them for monetary things. In today's times, it's common to see ladies dating for the sake of getting money or monetary things in exchange for their sex. Men are dating for the sake of getting sex in exchange for their time, attention, and financial support. But what it boils down to is women want access to a man's financial assets and men want access to a woman's body. In common mentality. Transactional relationships give people the sense of entitlement. If a woman's having sex with you, she usually feels entitled to your time, your attention, your financial support, your gifts. And if men, on the other hand, are giving all of those things, they feel entitled to sex. In some amount of time, they're going to expect the relationship to offer less boundaries so where they can have the intimacy that they crave or desire physically. So there's a transaction there for that money and sex in today's dating and society. And then men typically don't care much about a woman's personality or interest if he's not physically attracted to her. But then that same woman can't keep his attention if he's only physically attracted to her and he doesn't see anything else that she has to offer. So it's kind of almost like, that catch-22 where you have to focus on looking good, but you're not trying to look good for somebody else. And what I would say basically is to get out of the rat race of this whole dating for money, or is it comparable to prostitution? It really comes down to focusing on things that are self-sufficient, focusing on things that are building yourself, focusing on your own self-confidence, loving who you are, realizing the areas that you need to grow in and working on those areas and trying to be the best person that you can be, realizing, are you good at relationships outside of just romantic ones? There's a lot of things on the table that we don't want to face about ourselves that make us date other people for validation and security.
So are you standing on the premise that they're not the same, or they are?
No, I said that they are. I said dating in modern day society and prostitution is very, very similar. Those are the comparisons as to why I feel that way.
Today in the modern day dating scene, there's really no difference in prostitution and dating, mainly because it's all about the dollar bill. Pocket mine and spend yours mentality that women have. It's not new. It's something that's always been around. It's just the fact that it's more exposed because of the internet. Everybody has a voice now. So you have a lot of women who are voicing their need. Hey, look, I'm not spending no money. And if you want access to me, you have to spend some money. You know what I'm saying? And though we look at that as prostitution, basically what it is, at the end of the day, the old school saying comes into play. There is no romance without finance. Am I right or wrong?
True. Cool. K Fred, you got that look. What you got?
I'm just saying. Let me add this. The only difference is really the price you're willing to pay as a man, because this is where the dating market system, the whole system is the rating system that Kevin Samuels came up with that all women hated. That comes into play when you're dating in the modern day dating scene, because if you are an 8 or a 9, of course, 8 or 9s usually date ball players, celebrities, dope boys, somebody who can afford, because they know their beauty attracts the more financially stable or rich, wealthy men. The lower grades, they got to settle for whatever they can get, which means that they dating the warehouse guys. the only way to the money, guys, which means that, oh, he ain't got it just yet, but I see his hustle. he on the way, so I'm gonna fuck with him just because he got the potential to make that money. He trying to turn that dope money into legit money, but he got money, but he ain't spending it all on me. But I see the potential of him being a successful businessman, so I'm gonna date him just because of that. The potential is what I'm talking about.
I'm gonna touch it from a couple of different levels. My first question would be, what's the difference between, like Danelle said, that transactional relationship where I'm trading money for sex versus what you do in a marriage or what you do when you're dating? The whole pretense for most men when they're dating is they go, let me take her to the movies, let me take her to restaurants, and every fucking date costs you money. You know what I mean? And you do this over a period of time. Why? Because at the end of it, you're looking for what? The exchange. And the exchange is, she's going to have sex with me. Eventually. You know what I mean? So you'll put the time, which that costs you. You'll put the money in, that costs you. And then let's say you take it even further. You go into the marriage part of it. Now you paying for the rest of your life for that same, as we would say, crass piece of that's there with you every day. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. It's always been a ticket. If you go back to old traditions, like you were talking about earlier, even in Islam, when you come to the wali, which is her guardian, and say you want that hand in marriage, the first thing they go on is what gift do you have? What can you bring to the table? When you look at the relationship that we've established socially between male and female, we've automatically deemed the male as the provider. But somehow providing and provision and health of family and relationship has been miscued into this crass form of let me prostitute myself in order for the exchange. The other part, you hear women talk about, I'm not no hoe, but at the end of the day, it's like you looking for a man with money. Now, if you don't have nothing to bring, quote unquote, to the table, and you hear that argument, what do you bring to the table? Which is what most men say. The most sacred part of the relationship with the woman and what she brings to the table is not money and it's not, it's the value of producing a child, right? And technically that's the value of a woman that she brings to a relationship to a man, so that I can have an offspring, something male, hopefully, to carry my name, if not female, right? But that was the whole point of her value. Well, we got contraceptive, we got all that stuff now, so it moves it to a more perverse form. I can just have sex just to have sex, and then you got to pay me in order to do it. Now, for the woman that says, hey, give me $350, give me $1,300, give me $3,500, I'll have sex with you. Or to the girl that goes, he got to wine and dine me for umpteen many months before I give it to him. My question is, what's the difference?
So this is where we at, because you had mentioned, K. Fred, regarding the exchange with signing the marital contract versus non-marital contracts of intercourse. I think the main thing is the expectations. What are you expecting? What are you expecting? And everybody's value is going to be different on this. Sex is one part of expectations. That's part of the contract, because the whole point of, typically, if you go with tradition, when you're courting, these courtships, man-woman unions, well, we have other unions as well now, but we're going to focus on one, because if we go into the other world, it's going to get more complex. So we're going to stay with tradition. Traditionally, it's different things that you're looking for, that you're expecting, not just sex. Because if it was just sex, then okay, like you just said, you could just go find that. But it's more that you're looking for. It depends on the person. So when you go into these business ventures, because that's what it is, when you're coming together, you're trying to vet these people in these arenas of dating in order to go forward into some sort of marital contract. That's one part. But then we also have the new modern dating world, where you can also have the option of just hunching, where there's only expectations of pleasure and not any kind of proponent of marital contract. then you could just, enjoy yourself and keep it pushing. So it depends on which one you're living in, because it's two different worlds. There are going to be consequences from being a part of that just dating pleasure world where there's no expectations other than that. And then you got the other world where you're actually dating for some sort of confirmation with marital contracts. Like I said, it's two different ideas that we're touching on. So
now the thing is, the difference between back then and now, and you mentioned vetting. The vetting was done by the fathers back then. Am I right or wrong?
That's right.
Okay. So the modern day woman really and truly, it's no surprise as to why they don't know what the fuck they doing when it comes to choosing men. And that's simply because they don't have the minds that it takes to vet men. Men know men. When you met as a man, you met somebody's father back in the day, he looked at you sideways. What's your family name, boy? Last name? Mm-hmm. That's your pappy? Mm-hmm. I know him. Your uncles? Yeah, they all drug dealers. Yeah, I know your family. I know where you come from, boy. He didn't want you dating his daughter. He knew your bloodline. He knew your pedigree. He knew where you came from. He didn't want you dating his daughter. Whether they would dope boys, where they were just no good dudes or whatever, at the end of the day, it was a specific reason why you had to meet the pappy before you dated his daughter. You see these movies and these shows and all that stuff where, and it happened even in our families, to where a lot of those women went outside of their fathers and their brothers' wishes and dated the guys anyway, got pregnant by them, and guess what? The nigga wasn't shit. And they found out later. Well, guess what? They didn't know. They went outside. They were focused on looks. Oh, I like him. I love him. And da-da-da-da-da. But the daddy and the brothers already told you the nigga wasn't shit. His family ain't shit. But you ain't paying attention to that. You don't care. You see what you want to see. And that's what you have now. A whole bunch of renegade women who just jumping into any dude's arms and any dude's beds because they see what they see and they see the potential in him. I don't care what nobody say. I want him. Da-da-da-da-da. He's 6 foot. Woo, woo, woo. He got this. He got that. And then they jumping into bed with him, having babies by him. And next thing you know, they the bit of baby mama.
So we got Tanya Johnson has said he didn't mention the third woman. Do you know what she's referencing? This
I have no idea. I don't know. She gotta Tanya, you gotta be specific. Which
what's that third woman?
Yeah, I don't know what you mean by third woman.
Yeah, who's the third woman? That's only in Utah, baby. Only in Utah they got a third woman.
First off, Fred, you were talking about the difference between the marriage contract and this dating. One of the things that I wanted to touch on with that is when you're in a marriage contract, typically in days of old, they did marry wanting somebody that was wealthy and that could provide for them and so forth. But the exchange was, it was for a marriage, because back in those times, sex outside of marriage was not very much accepted. It's different from when like what Ephraim was just saying, well, we just want the hump and we don't want no commitment. We don't want no responsibilities. But when you actually back in those days are dating, and even though you're dating somebody that you feel like, okay, am I dating with the intent to marry? And can this person fulfill the needs that we need as a family? And I think that that's a difference from comparing that to prostitution, because the exchange is still there. They're still investing in the family on a day-to-day basis. And then also I wanted to touch on some of the things that you had said, Cutter, because you was talking about in today's society and how people meet and how they used to go back into the family and stuff like that. And I was writing some notes down on that when I was doing my studying today too. And it was like 50 years ago, the family protected the women and they had to go to the woman's house and they had to meet the male head in the house or whatever in order for them to be able to take a girl out on a date or anything like that. They had to return her by a decent time. You know what I mean? He had to get that approval to even leave the premises with her. Versus today, where we're looking at the fact that most people are meeting online. They don't never introduce them to nobody else that they know. They meeting them somewhere in private. A lot of times they having sex a lot quicker than they usually would if they went about it in a slower pace. Right. And And it's like there is no curfew. Curfew is for babies. Those boundaries don't exist in the grown world. We in a new day and age in society. Like we don't date really like we're looking for lifelong partners, because if you were really looking for somebody for a lifelong partnership, would you want them to be open to doing all those things? Wouldn't you want them to have certain boundaries that show that they respected themselves? Or would you want it? Because a lot of times women feel like I have to sell my body in order to get the man that I want, the baller, the whatever. But at the end of the day, is he really going to respect that?
No, he just wants to have sex.
If you're only concerned with offering your physical appearance, how good you look, and you don't have much else to offer, and you're trying to catch somebody with that, and at the end of the day, you know you're sacrificing self-respect, then all you are doing is creating a prostitution transaction.
Well, you got to realize too that women are trying to match men's energy at the end of the day. So, you know, all this feminine stuff that goes around, now women are saying, hey, I can do the same thing men do. I can do the same thing that men do. And that's one of the problems right there. I mean, if you want to sell your body, that's up to you. I don't give a shit. Ain't got nothing to do with me. But that's one of the problems that we have, that women in their mind that think they're more dominant than men. You know, you hear the word alpha female. There's no such thing. But anyway,
I hate that word. But go ahead.
I do too. It's the dumbest shit ever. Yeah. You got to realize that, you know, women are still trying to catch up to men. And like Cutter said, women don't know men like men know men. You know, so, you know, we can look at each other and we know what the fuck we thinking right now. Because when I was dating, I was just trying to fuck. I'm fucking. Let's run through it. Like Usain Bolt at the track meet. Let's go. And it's only time that a man wants to marry a woman when he feel like that woman is special and that he'll do anything for that woman. Right. And if you're not in that special category, he not fucking with you. No matter what you do, you ain't gonna be the one. You're gonna be one of the ones, but you ain't gonna be the one that he ends up with at the end of the day.
You're gonna be a part of the starting lineup,
and you're gonna be part of the starting lineup. You're gonna be. He got a point guard. He got a power forward, and then you know it depends on what the day it is.
You already know.
Basically, you just had a transaction.
Whether or not we want to realize it or not, and I always say this: there's no fucking way that we're supposed to be dating in our fucking 40s. The concept itself was made for people who were young and thriving, coming out of their teenage years, getting ready to start adulthood and beginning a life for themselves outside of their parents. Dating past your 40s, 2-3 divorces later, of course that shit's gonna be difficult. Of course it's gonna be difficult. Why would it be easy? You're coming from two different walks of life. You got baggage, you got kids, you got all kinds of shit going on in your life, and then you trying to date like you 16, 17 years old on your way to fucking college. Get the fuck out of here. Let's be realistic about the shit.
So as always, I like to touch on a little bit of history just to go into the word dating, because that's kind of where we're at now. This website is called mentalfloss.com. I kind of go to them sometimes. They'll have cute little historical timelines that you can utilize that's not too overwhelming. So, for example, they are discussing the history of dating. Number one, it says it wasn't always called dating. According to Weigel, date in the context of relationships reaches back to 1896. It was first used in a newspaper column in which a young man laments that his girlfriend is seeing other people, that they are filling all my dates, as in the dates on her calendar. So late 19th century is when that word started becoming more prominent in literature, in English literature, American English literature rather. Number two, in 1900, dating could be a felony. At the turn of last century, dating was still a new concept, and law enforcement wasn't sure what to make of it, but they were sure something sordid was going on. A young man and woman meeting in public, him buying her food, drink, and gifts. Well, it was a veritable prostitution in the eyes of authorities, and women could be arrested for it. So as we've been discussing, this all was like, what in the world were they talking about? You know, this whole dating concept. Number three, just touch on number three, dating introduced privacy to the process of courtship. Ironically, a man and a woman meeting in public was the best way to have some privacy. Before dating, courtship involved suitors calling on prospective partners in the family home. And since McMansions were not yet a thing, it meant the parlor or kitchen where there were always eyes and ears close by. I'll touch on one more.
They didn't cut dating short. You can't go out there and just give me the cash. Let's go.
Because you really go ahead, E. Go ahead.
So I just touch on number 5 because this goes into, of course, money. Okay, Fred, you always refer to that. It's always going to go back to money. Consumer goods weren't always part of courtship. Whereas before, the compatibility of prospective couples were determined by land, status, and wealth, which is what we talked about earlier. With the onset of industrialization and the rise of the middle class, consumer goods became a go-to method for determining compatibility with a potential partner, e.g. comparing phones or favorite albums. Taste would become a central element of courtship and is still used to telegraph status today. Cutter, you had touched on that, however subtly.
And like I said, man, I love all the great ideas, right? That surround relationship or family or what's healthy, what's not. I love all of that. But at the end of the day, you're still paying for it. So no matter whether you put it in a contractual marriage, you're still paying for that as a man. No matter whether you're dating, you're still paying for it as a man. No matter whether it's an exchange of just money to sex or, you paying for it, money to a meal, you paying for it. You understand what I'm saying? You're paying for that end game. So even if you in the family, the end game is to have children. And in a marriage, it ain't like she gonna be like, no, you know what I mean? She's not gonna risk you going outside the marriage for sex. So even within the marriage, it's still the exchange that you're paying financially, and your wife is going to provide you that other part of it, sex. You know what I'm saying? If you're dating for that purpose to get there, and there's sex along the way. So, like I said, man, great ideas behind it, but it always comes back to the money exchange.
They just like shopping at Walmart. Just take a bitch and go ahead and pay for it. Get it out of here.
Well, I have to add this, though. If people are in a position to where they're self-sufficient, I'm talking about in total, and they're not really in need of anything, you can date for different connections. You can date for something outside of monetary valuable things. And so I don't think that.
Are you going to have sex at the end of it?
I mean, sharing intimacy isn't always a monetary exchange.
But are you going to have sex at the end?
But the topic is dating comparable to prostitution? And the definition of prostitution is exchange of money and sex. So if I'm not getting any money from you and we're just getting to know each other and we build an intimate relationship and we have sex, there's been no exchange of money for sex.
Oh, no, what, because you're not spending the money?
No, my point is if there's an equal exchange, meaning that he has his, I have mine, we are interested in each other for something other than for monetary, anything that money can purchase.
But it doesn't matter whether the interest is for money or not. The fact is that as a man, right, the idea socially is that we provide. So just because there may not be an exchange, me to you like that with money, I'm still paying for it.
In my opinion, when we're talking about prostitution, it creates an expectation. It's more of a transaction. Whenever I have a transaction with somebody and I give them something, I expect something in return, and you're going to give me what I gave you back.
But that's the thing. We can disguise it around the word prostitution, which in essence demonizes the transaction, right? But what
I'm not saying that is bad. They can do what they want to do.
I'm saying, Danelle, that the word itself, when you say prostitution, it's a demonizing word for a transaction that's going to take place normally between money and sex. So what I'm trying to say is that it doesn't matter. That's just one idea that we compartmentalize over here. If you look at the greater spectrum of it, it does not matter. As a man, you still have to spend money on every single level. And at the end of it, there is an expectation on the other side that you're going to have sex. Bottom line.
True.
Question. Now watch this. I'm going to run around this panel real quick.
Okay.
Now, Cutter, At the end of the day, are you going to be in a marriage where you're not having sex, but you have this great connection?
Fuck no.
Okay. OG, with your wife, right? Is it not an expectation that there's going to be sex there?
Hell, fuck yes.
Okay. Now, at the end of the day, don't you have to, as a man of the household, still what? Provide,
pay bills,
okay.
buy expensive purchases.
On the flip side of that,
buy cars. Yeah.
If you have a baby by a man, you're still expecting him to give some type of support for the child, right? For the fucking that he did. I'm just saying. So at the end of the day, you bingo. So you can mask it around all these great ideas, right? But they all deal in a level of exchange. And that exchange is I have to provide something as a man. And at the end of the day, we fucking.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. You keep going from the mindset of a man that's a provider. What about in homes where the man is not the provider?
It still don't matter. If she has the choice to open up her legs, she's
But I'm talking about in relation to the definition of prostitution.
Oh boy, there's the demonization again.
Well, you got demonization is facts. That's what we're talking about.
But once again, it's still compartmentalized facts. Right?
It's not compartmentalized facts. There's a definition. Can you pull that definition up again?
We've already had it up. I get the definition.
Okay, but if the definition is
create a new definition.
You're the definition guy. Read the definition, please.
Okay. Yes, please.
This is Etimon Online. This is one of the earliest definitions for the word prostitute in the English language written down. Harlot, woman who offers her body indiscriminately, usually for money. 1610s, exposed publicly. As far as there's no distinction, but in the use of the word was made between women who did so to gratify themselves, those who did so out of necessity, or those who were forced unwillingly to it. It's a complicated word because it carries many ideas and understandings of what type of woman is this referring to in this prostitution. Of course, now we have men that's been, men always been involved in it too. But for some reason, of course, the writers of these words, they built these meanings according to men's standards and perspectives. But it doesn't necessarily mean the end all and be all of what the word means. It's just this is what was written down at that time.
Okay, so I Googled it, and it just simply gave me, and I don't know if it was Webster's or what, but it simply said one sentence: exchange of sex for money, a sexual transaction for money, period.
Okay.
That was all it said. If that is the case, and that's what I'm going on, that's what I'm basing my comment on, all I'm saying is, if you are not giving me any money, if you're not the provider of the home, this isn't the same type of comparable transaction because we're not exchanging sex for money.
Okay, so I say this. This is what I say. If you buying something, if you buy you a dress, buy you shoes, and he gives you those shoes, that's still transactions. Transaction, that money took care of it, and I'm giving you a gift that money paid for. It's still a transaction. And if you give me some ass, that's a transaction still because I bought you some shoes. So that's still like prostitution in a whole nother word.
Man, I think we just being full of shit at the end of the day.
Right.
Let's call it what it is.
What is it?
The only thing is between these transactions are the intentions and the fact that people are concealing these intentions. The fact that this man knows all he wants is some ass. And he knows the protocol. What do I have to do?
Mm-hmm.
Dinner. I mean, we've all been in situations like that.
Yep.
I've literally been in the bed with a woman, then started the foreplay and all that stuff. And she looks at me, well, we got to go eat first. What? We got to go eat. Yeah, I'm hungry.
So, Cutter, what is that? What is that, Cutter? Is that a transaction?
I'm like, bitch, you ain't hungry. You just want to make sure that I treat your ass before you give up the pussy. I already know what it is.
Can I? Well, wait a second. This is good because, again, it's never either or, but what? And maybe. It's complicated.
It's complicated. Like I said at the beginning, it's complicated.
big sin.
It's not complicated. Go ahead.
No, it's really not.
Oh, it is.
Go ahead.
It is though.
Go ahead.
reason
It is.
why we want to make stuff simple is because you can mold it and shape it the way you want to. So it's not just either or, it's and maybe. The reason why I'm saying that is because you're trying to lump in a group of men. You're trying to mold this one particular perspective of man, this identity of man. He's only after sex. That's all he wants. Well, if we want to go here, we're going to go personal, because we've had conversations, K-Fred, about our different playbooks about what we are expecting and how we're going to get what we expect. When I want something from a woman, meaning I want to have sex from a woman, I'm going to do the same things that I do if I want to be with the woman in a committed relationship. So now I'm confusing the two together because she doesn't know that. She only knows that, hey, he's doing the same things that he would do as if he wanted to commit to me. And she can't tell the difference because you can't read my mind. You don't know my intentions. And the same thing on the woman's side. I don't know what her intentions are. She may seem like she's into me and she wants to go through the courting ritual, the dating process to lead to some sort of commitment. But all she wants is a free dinner, free meal, just a little temporary fun Friday night fun fling. And she's willing to give something up, AKA sex, or the idea that you might get it over a period of time, just because she knows that's the power that she has. We have the intention of marriage and commitment. They have as you say, the vagina. They have the
power of the P.
Of the P, and that's what I'm saying. So I get it, but at the same time, we don't know which one is which. It's confused because
they're in power. We're in power. Okay, as Kevin Samuels, and I hate to keep quoting, but the motherfucker had some shit, man, before he died. Women control the access to sex. Men control the access to relationships and marriage. At the end of the day, how many of us have had a woman call us, "I'm hungry," or not even call us? Get to the point to where you're that deep in the friendship, y'all just having a general conversation, and she start mentioning that she's hungry. You already know what that's key. They're basically saying that, hey, look, I'm waiting for you to ask me to dinner. Or some are bold. Some will tell you, like, can you meet me over here? I'm gonna be over here. I'm gonna be at this bar, this restaurant, or whatever. And then when you get there, they expect you to pay. Motherfucker, you invited me. You invited me, and a real man. A real man would do this. There goes the manipulation. A real man would pay. Woo. I've never been out with a man who didn't pay for all that shit. It's still a form of prostitution when you know that there is an exchange of goods. I pay you, or I take you here, whatever, and in exchange, you come home with me, or I go to your house and we have sex. Regardless of how it's done, it's still done the same way. The only thing that I think is, and I go back to the intentions, is the elimination of the fact that, hey, look, we're not going to bullshit each other. I got money. You need whatever you need. Here, give me that.
So, Cutter. We got Jeremiah Tuck in the house. What's up, Jeremiah Tuck?
Jeremiah Tuck. My boy.
Question. He
That's
says
that, and I like that right there. Let me touch that, because at the end of the day, and here's what I'm saying.
Hold on, K-Fred, because he didn't even get the question out. Let's address the question, and then you go ahead.
K-Fred fired up tonight. K-Fred, calm down, sir. Calm down, K-Fred. Calm down. Let him read the question, sir.
Can a wife be a prostitute based on that exchange? Go ahead, K-Fred.
It's real simple. I love, Chris, the way you talked about this one word, intentions, right? And the intentions, like Ephraim clearly defined, is based on that person and what their intention is with the other person. That's where I talk about the ideas. There's many ideas surrounded by it. But if you cut it down to the core, it all still costs you money. Right. And it's all for the exchange of something that you feel like you're getting from the other person. So whether that's monetarily, whether that's emotionally, whether it's spiritually, whatever you feel like you're getting from somebody, you're still, as a man, you're paying for it. So as a husband, you're paying for the right to have an exclusive relationship with your wife, where you don't have to go in the dating world anymore. And you even go pay for the marriage certificate. You even pay for the wedding. right? You even pay as the children are being born, right? And then the old way, she used to be a housewife, but you were expected to still pay and bring money. The intention is one thing. I'm talking about economically the exchange. Now, whether you choose to deem it as prostitution, right, based around the definition or the label, I'm moving away from that. I'm saying that there's an exchange no matter what level you're on, from a man to a woman. And at the end of it, when I look at all the different levels that you can attain it to, there's still somehow sex on the other end of that. Right?
At the end of the day.
So whether you'd make a connection and define it as prostitution, I'm saying no, there's an economic exchange in a relationship from a male to a female. And at the end of it, there's something that the female has, like I said earlier, which is the ability to produce children. That's the value in a woman in the womb.
So question. So jumping on this, because I got to kind of clear this up. I don't stand on the fact that sex is a one-way street. You can't sit up here and say who's fucking who, because that's what you're trying to say. You're trying to say because a man is a man that he's the one providing the fucking, and then the woman is receiving. No, it's mutual.
No, what I'm saying is that he's providing the semen, and the semen, she can't get pregnant by herself. And in the original part of how we do sex, right, the way God intended, was that a male has a penis, he ejaculates into a woman's womb, and then there's an egg there to fertilize, and then she runs through 9 to 10 months.
I smelled it. Underneath is always some sort of spirituality. And you said it, God did it. It's because God made it that way. I don't have to actually.
Oh, I didn't say that God made. Well, look, is nature what's nature? Since we gonna go there. I mean, it's a natural point of a male and a female. I don't give a damn whether you're an elephant or a lion. Ain't no gay lions coming together to have kids. It's a male and a female lion.
Here you go. Here you go, y'all. Here you go.
Natural
Here you
law.
go.
That's natural law.
I've never seen a gay lion in my life. But yeah.
But neither. So go ahead.
We not fit that point. Like I said, I'm not fit to touch. But the reason why I did that was because it's the woman and the man. It's not man over woman. It's woman and man. Man and
it's a two-way street.
I just put up a post. I just put up a post on my Facebook and asked, ladies, have you ever DM'd or inboxed a man and asked him out on a date?
And the answer is probably yes.
Surprisingly, a lot of I'm sorry, I didn't finish it. Have you ever DM'd or inboxed a man and asked him out a date simply because he was just so damn attractive to you? Surprisingly, women came out the woodwork saying, yes, I asked him out. Yes, I took him out. Yes, I got that dick. A woman that I'm not making it up. I can put the damn comment up here, but I won't put her on blast. But she said yes because she was sexually attracted to him.
But the thing is, people think it's just a one-way street that men is always trying to get the pussy.
No, it's not.
It's not a one-way street. It's a two-way highway at the end of the day.
Two-way highway, and women are becoming, now there are not a lot of them that are becoming more aggressive in the dating scene, but there are women who have, if some of us can attest to this, I can, who've approached me and, basically was like, oh, yeah, we should go eat. We should go out, have a drink, woo, woo, woo. But basically they wanted sex.
It's a lot of them.
Yeah, it's a lot of them out there like that.
Yeah.
100.
It definitely is. I wanted to touch on dower because we're talking about
I don't know what that means. Can you explain that, please?
A dower is a property which a woman brings to her husband at marriage. Of course, we don't call it that no more because it's outdated. But basically, it's a portion of a late husband. It can also be a portion of a late husband's real property allowed to a widow for her
dowry.
Exactly. Yeah. That dowry we used to have to bring, or rather that would be the property that the woman would bring into the marriage.
And common terms, what the fuck you bring to the table?
Exactly. To the table, she brings something, and the man typically would bring what? What is the man bringing? You said stability, K. Fred. You had mentioned that as true. Traditionally, the man would be bringing that stability, that consistency, that protection. But now we live in a society where the government protects us. man, you don't need the man anymore because the government is your husband. So
that's right. And they take 10% too.
Because society changes that way, everything changes. It's constantly changing. So the perspectives have changed. It doesn't mean that this whole thing was designed a certain way. No deity, no nature. This ain't natural. None of the shit we doing right now that we talking about is natural. The only thing that's natural is the intercourse. That's natural. But as far as the society standards and the man is supposed to be the provider and the woman's supposed to be the house
shit out the window
and all that, man, that's
throw that shit out the window.
That's
right. Well, henceforth, those are the ideas based on social standard, right? And when you get into that level of it, there's many different ways you can go. But at the end of the day, just like you said, the natural part about it is the having sex. Why is it there? What was the purpose of it? How you choose to pervert it based on your social standards, and then we attach words and labels to it. That's a whole nother level. And like I said, yeah, that's what makes it complicated. But if you're looking at it just from its most simplistic state, from its natural part of it, that's what a man and a woman are there to do. I mean, procreate. Now, the intention that you give behind it, you know, whether you do it through dating or whether you do it through marriage or whether you do it through whatever social traditional standard you in around the world, it still ends up kind of at the same place. And because we live in a capitalistic society at this point, that thing has transitioned into a two-part. Yeah, the natural part of it, but now it costs you money.
It always
costs you money.
It costs money. I mean, you got to think about the soldiers who were coming into certain towns during their stint in the military, and you know the prostitutes that were there to greet them, the cowboys who were coming into towns, and you know from their travels, and the prostitutes that were there to greet them. It was always an exchange of goods. Always. The only difference from back then to now, it's a lot more fucking prostitutes. Go ahead, y'all. A lot more.
Well, you know, Kay Fred said something about being married. So every husband knows what his wife loves. Everyone. Every husband knows their love languages. You have a relationship with it. So you know what your wife like. So if you buy what your wife like, you know you'll get some pussy. Yes, Kay Fred. Tricking ain't fair, but sometimes it's easy.
Gillum, you said that other word is trick. See, you're a trick. That let's keep that in line. If we're going to use these slangs, the trick, you're being tricked. So just because you say that, hey, this woman, because that's what we try to associate women with as prostitutes, because they're
women are trickers too. They trick too. Your wife know what you like too.
But the tradition is man paying for what we said, sex. So that makes you the trick because you have to pay for it. They have to pay for it to get it. Otherwise, it's going to be hard and difficult to obtain it. See, the whole thing about this prostitution ring, if we want to go there, if you want to combine prostitution with sex and marriage, it's going to be complicated to put that together because they're not the same thing. It's different expectations. And you can't expectations because expectation starts with each individual person at different moments and times of their lives. So when you try to conflate everything together, it makes it easy, but that's not how life goes. We have different game plans. My intentions for when I dated is different than yours and yours and yours. Everybody had their own.
Everybody got their own.
Everybody got their own playbook.
That's why the intentions separated, and you can't just put it all in one bucket because the intentions do matter. Because the intention behind having sex in exchange for money is intentional. You know that this is what I expect, and hopefully you're open and honest about that because the other person may not be intending to exchange sex for money. So I think the intention has a lot to do with when it comes down to, are we doing a transaction that's fair and equal and agreeable on both sides? And is it a prostitution transaction?
We keep going back to that word. And that's why I'm glad it laid that foundation, intentions. Men date for two really, really good reasons. When men are single, men date for two reasons. Either you're trying to find a wife and fuck, or you're trying to fuck, period.
Yeah.
So in those intentions, like we have to establish what we're looking for during that time.
Or you find men out there that find women to marry and they don't want to sleep with them and they still go mess with the prostitute on the side.
Well, the prostitute is always going to be there. Prostitutes ain't going nowhere. Look, The prostitute.
But their intention for marrying their wife wasn't obviously to have sex, because they would rarely give it to their wife, but they spending money to get it from the prostitute.
Well, the prostitute performs different things.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
The prostitute do.
That is not always the reason why. Some men just like a variety. Some men just like a variety.
Sometimes we pay a woman to go away. Sometimes men pay women to go away so we don't have all that drama. So I'm going to pay you and you get your ass out of here.
Do we have a problem with legal prostitution as Jeremiah Tuck?
No,
not at all.
Not at all.
No.
I love it. I think prostitution should be legal in every state and
every goddamn state. Me too.
They make that shit easier.
Everybody have a right to fuck. Go get them. Shit.
Go get them. And on both sides. Male prostitution, female prostitution, all that shit should be legal.
Does that mean the prostitution side and the pimp side, or just the prostitution side?
Look, we don't call them pimps, we call them managers.
He said managers. I agree.
We can call women bitches, hoes, and sluts and prostitutes, but we got to call these pimps managers.
That's what they do. They manage. They manage.
Yeah, they manage.
Look,
they provide safety. They provide a whole lot of things.
It has to be somebody in charge. A hoe with no instruction is headed for self-destruction. That's rules.
It's damn.
I ain't very slim in the middle, ladies and gentlemen.
They have to have some type of guidance. You don't find a woman who sells.
Head towards self-construction.
Look, a woman with no instruction.
Well, he's saying construction, and I like that better. I like the way you said it the first time. Headed towards construction, yes.
Self-destruction. A woman with no guidance in that game is doomed. She's out of there.
Pretty much do a lot of times if you're in that game too.
Well, look, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. At the end of the goddamn day, every renegade I've ever met in my life, and I'm talking pimp talk, and I'm going another direction with this shit. If every renegade I've ever met in my life has gone down a bad road. Every renegade.
Yeah. So you've never met any woman that actually got out of the game?
Yeah, I've met a couple of women that got out of the game, but not by themselves.
Okay.
Not by themselves.
Yeah.
Never met one woman that walked away from the dude, walked away from the game, and just started her life over.
Yeah, but not by herself. She had to have some type of instruction.
To leave?
I don't fucking know. It at the end of the day, it's an addiction for a lot of people because the money comes quick. Just like nuts come. Money, nuts.
I know that, but I mean, but everybody can decide to change their life without instructions from somebody else.
Shit. They either get saved
or they go in the program. So the program helps them get the instructions.
They either go to jail. Jail saves you too.
Hold up. We're winding down, but before
go ahead, y'all. We did it with a whole other direction with this shit.
Before we did, I know, Danelle, you have a special promo that's coming up on the book.
Okay, yes, absolutely. Tomorrow, April 4th, is the 1-year anniversary to The House Without Doors. Definitely, if you have not got your copy, please get your copy. The special that I am running for this anniversary day only. So you must place your orders with me via social media inbox. Call me if you have my contact information. You can find me on all social medias at author Danelle Wright. The special would be that you get an autographed copy of my book with the price that it would be unautographed that you can find on Amazon, and shipping would be free. I would ship it to you within 7 days, and you can let me know what you think, but it would be an autographed copy of my books. 24 hours to get that autographed copy and free shipping.
Yes, go get that.
Make sure you like and subscribe. We appreciate you guys as always viewing and being with us, dropping your comments. This will be online at YouTube and Facebook if you want to rewatch it and share it. Thank you for joining with Concrete Reality TV. We out.
These hoes ain't loyal.
Peace.